Welcome back to Mindset English, where you learn English through the most inspiring stories in the world. Today, you're not just going to practice your listening and comprehension skills. You're also going to uncover powerful lessons from the life of one of the greatest investors of all time, Warren Buffett. If you've ever dreamed of becoming rich, let me tell you something that might change the way you think. Around 80% of the wealthiest people in the world didn't inherit their riches, they built it themselves. They didn't wait for a lucky break or someone to give them success on a silver platter. They took small steps, stayed consistent, and never gave up. Warren Buffett is a perfect example of that. He wasn't born into a wealthy family. He didn't have special connections or any kind of shortcut. But today, he stands among the wealthiest individuals in the world. And the most amazing part, his life is full of simple but powerful lessons that anyone, yes, even you, can apply to succeed in your own way. So, stay with me until the end, because this isn't just a story. This is a guide, a practical roadmap for success told through the life of someone who lived it. Warren Edward Buffett was born on August 30th, 1930, in Omaha, Nebraska, a quiet, small town in the middle of the United States. He was the second child of Howard Buffett, a stockbroker and local politician, and his wife, Leela. Warren had two sisters, and the family lived in a modest house with no luxuries or signs of future wealth. But even as a child, Warren stood out. While most kids were out riding bikes or playing games, Warren was already thinking like a businessman. He loved numbers, coins, and calculating profits. At just 6 years old, he had already discovered the power of buying and selling. One day, he went to a grocery store and bought a pack of chewing gum for 25 cents. Then he sold each piece for a nickel, that's 5 cents, making a small profit. It may sound simple, but that was Warren's very first business. By the age of 11, Warren did something most adults never even try. He bought his first stock. The company was called City Service, and he bought 3 shares for $38 each. Soon after buying, the stock dropped to $27. Many people would panic in that situation, especially an 11-year-old. But Warren didn't. He waited. Then the price went back up to $40, and he sold his shares. Sounds smart, right? But here's the twist. The stock kept going up. It reached $100, then $200. That moment taught Warren one of the most valuable lessons in investing and in life. Good things come to those who wait. From that point forward, Warren couldn't be stopped. He was constantly looking for new ways to make money. At just 13 years old, while most kids were still being told what to do, Warren was already delivering newspapers at dawn, riding through the empty streets while the city slept. He worked hard, saved every penny, and by the age of 16, he had saved up $300, a big amount at the time. But he didn't use that money to buy clothes or gadgets. He used it to buy a 40-acre farm, which he then rented out to a farmer. At 16 years old, Warren Buffett was already earning passive income like a real investor. But Warren wasn't just focused on money. He had a deep hunger for learning. He devoured books on business and finance. One of his favorites was 1,000 Ways to Make $1,000. That book opened his mind to the many creative ways one could build wealth. At school, his classmates saw him as a math genius. He could do mental calculations faster than anyone else. But what made him different wasn't just his skills with numbers, it was his way of seeing opportunity where others saw nothing. His family also had a major impact on his life. His father, Howard, was not only a stockbroker but a man of high values. Howard taught Warren the importance of honesty, responsibility, and self-discipline. Warren's mother, Leela, was strict but supportive. She encouraged him to chase his dreams, even if those dreams seemed strange at the time. And yes, Warren sometimes felt out of place. While other kids dreamed of becoming athletes or movie stars, Warren dreamed of building businesses. He once said, "I knew I was going to be rich. I never doubted it for a second." And if you're listening to this thinking, "But I don't have money," or "I don't have a rich family," remember, Warren Buffett started with very little. No luxury, no big-name family, no shortcuts, just a strong desire to learn and the courage to try. In 1947, Warren graduated from high school at the age of 17. By then, he already knew what he wanted to do: become rich through investing. But his father insisted he go to college. So, Warren enrolled at the University of Pennsylvania, but he didn't enjoy it. The classes felt boring and unhelpful. After 2 years, he transferred to the University of Nebraska and finished with a degree in business at just 19 years old. Even during college, Warren never stopped working. He took on odd jobs and kept investing his savings. By the time he graduated, he had saved around $10,000, which, at the time, was a huge amount. Warren wanted to keep learning, so he applied to Harvard Business School, but to his shock, he was rejected. Most people would have taken that as a defeat, but not Warren. Instead, he discovered that his hero, Benjamin Graham, the famous author of The Intelligent Investor, was teaching at Columbia University. So, Warren applied there instead and got accepted. At Columbia, Warren soaked up every lesson he could. Benjamin Graham taught the concept of value investing, the idea of buying something undervalued and waiting patiently for its true worth to be recognized. Warren loved this idea. He wasn't interested in gambling or guessing. He wanted a system, and Graham gave him one. Graham was so impressed by Warren that he made him one of his favorite students. Warren often said, "Investing is simple, but not easy." That quote came straight from the lessons he learned during this time. After graduating in 1951, Warren tried to get a job at Graham's investment firm, but Graham said no. Warren didn't have enough experience yet. Again, Warren didn't complain. He simply returned to Omaha and started working as a stockbroker. While doing that, he spent countless hours reading company reports, analyzing numbers, and looking for smart investments. He wasn't just working, he was preparing. In 1952, Warren married Susan Thompson. She became one of the most important people in his life, supporting him emotionally and intellectually. Even when life got busy, Warren made time for his family. He believed wealth was useless if it came at the cost of the people you love. 2 years later, in 1954, Warren finally got the call he was waiting for. Benjamin Graham offered him a job at his firm in New York. Warren accepted immediately and spent 2 years working side by side with his mentor. Those years were life-changing. He learned not just how to invest, but how to think like an investor. By 1956, Warren decided it was time to go out on his own. He moved back to Omaha and started his own investment partnership with $15,000 from family and friends. It was small, but it was enough. That was the beginning of what would later become Berkshire Hathaway, one of the most powerful investment empires in history. At first, things moved slowly, but Warren kept making smart, long-term decisions. In 1962, he bought shares in a struggling textile company named Berkshire Hathaway. The stock was undervalued, and Warren saw potential. But things didn't go smoothly. The owner of the company tried to trick Warren in a buyout deal, and Warren, feeling betrayed, decided to take control of the company himself. Eventually, Warren realized the textile business had no future, so he made a bold decision. He shifted Berkshire Hathaway's focus from manufacturing to investments. That single decision changed everything. Berkshire Hathaway would no longer be just a company, it would become a holding company that owned parts of many successful businesses. Warren's strategy was simple: find great companies, buy them at a fair price, and hold them for a long time. In 1964, when American Express was in trouble because of a scandal, Warren didn't panic. Instead, he invested heavily. He believed in the brand, and he was right. The company bounced back stronger than ever. In 1973, he invested in the Washington Post after becoming close friends with its CEO, Katharine Graham. His support helped the company grow into one of the most respected news outlets in the world. Then, in 1988, he made one of his boldest moves. He invested over $1 billion in Coca-Cola. Why? Because he believed Coca-Cola wasn't just a drink. It was an emotion tied to holidays, celebrations, and everyday joy. He trusted the brand's power, and his investment paid off massively. For many years, Warren avoided technology stocks. He said he didn't understand them. But in 2016, something changed. He saw that Apple wasn't just a tech company, it was a lifestyle brand with loyal customers and simple, effective products. He invested. Today, Apple is Berkshire Hathaway's biggest holding, making up more than 40% of the portfolio. Warren Buffett never stops learning. That's what makes him different. He reads for 5-6 hours a day. He doesn't chase trends. He doesn't try to be flashy. In fact, despite being a billionaire, Warren still lives in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. He still eats breakfast from McDonald's and drives a modest car. He once said, "My life wouldn't be better with a bigger house or a nicer car." He believes in living simply and investing wisely. Warren's life wasn't without pain. He deeply loved Susan, his wife, who played a huge role in shaping his character. But over time, their relationship became complicated. In 1977, Susan moved to San Francisco to pursue her interests. Yet, they never divorced. They remained close, and Susan even introduced Warren to Astrid Menks, who would later become his second wife. After Susan passed away in 2004, Astrid and Warren married, but the bond between all three had always been based on care, trust, and understanding. For Hours with Friends. Warren Buffett is not just an investor, he's a teacher. Throughout his career, he has made it a point to share his wisdom with the world. Each year, Berkshire Hathaway holds its annual shareholders meeting in Omaha, often called the Woodstock for capitalists. Thousands of people travel from around the globe to hear Warren and his longtime business partner, Charlie Munger, discuss their strategies, mistakes, and lessons. Warren believes that anyone can succeed in life if they develop the right habits. While Warren excelled in building wealth, his relationships were equally significant in shaping his life. He maintained a deep bond with his children despite his busy schedule. Warren has 3 children. Susan Alice Buffett Susie. She inherited her parents' passion for philanthropy and works actively on social causes, particularly those focusing on education and children's welfare. Howard Buffett, an agriculturalist and businessman. Howard is deeply involved in philanthropy, focusing on combating world hunger and advancing conservation efforts globally. Peter Buffett, a musician, composer, and author. Peter followed a creative path, but remains deeply connected to his father's values, especially in terms of social responsibility and humility. Warren's parenting philosophy is unique. He didn't want to spoil his children with wealth. Instead, he believed in giving them enough to pursue their dreams, but not so much that they'd feel entitled. He once said, "I want to give my kids enough to do anything, but not enough to do nothing." He wanted them to discover their own purpose, guided by principles of integrity and self-reliance. Even in his 90s, Warren Buffett remains a student of life. He reads for hours every day, soaking up knowledge and staying endlessly curious. He once reflected, "The more I learn, the more I realize how little I know." This humility is one of his most admirable qualities. No matter how much he achieves, Warren always sees himself as someone who can keep growing. One of Warren Buffett's lesser-known yet defining qualities is his ability to trust people and delegate responsibility. He famously sends just 1 letter a year to the CEOs of Berkshire Hathaway's subsidiaries, outlining his expectations. The core message of the letter is simple yet profound. Run your business as if it's the only one your family will ever own. This trust empowers his team to make decisions independently and confidently. It's a valuable leadership lesson. True success isn't about controlling everything. It's about empowering others. Warren's frugality isn't about saving for the sake of saving. It's about focusing on what truly matters. He spends on experiences, relationships, and ideas, not material things. He often says, "Happiness isn't about how much you have. It's about how you feel about what you have." His modest lifestyle reflects this belief. He still lives in the same house he bought in 1958 and eats simple meals. This perspective offers a counter-narrative to today's culture of excess. It teaches us that financial success doesn't require lavish spending, it requires thoughtful choices. Throughout his life, Warren has been thoughtful about the industries he invests in. His decision to invest in Chevron, an oil and gas company, raised questions about environmental impact. Warren responded by emphasizing the importance of balance, meeting current global energy demands, while supporting innovation toward sustainability. His approach was not to avoid difficult choices, but to handle them with responsibility and long-term vision. This illustrates his belief in addressing challenges rather than ignoring them. Warren Buffett often says, "It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it." If you think about that, you'll do things differently. This principle of integrity has been the cornerstone of his life and career. Whether he's managing billions or mentoring young minds, honesty and trust come first. Now, Let's dive deeper into the timeless lessons that Warren Buffett's life can teach us, lessons that have the power to transform not just your finances, but your mindset and your life. Learn from mistakes. Warren Buffett is clear about one thing: mistakes are part of success. He once said, "It's good to learn from your mistakes. It's better to learn from other people's mistakes." One of his most expensive mistakes was the purchase of Dexter Shoe Company in the 1990s. He paid $400 million in Berkshire stock for the company, only to watch it become worthless. But Warren didn't hide from this error. He openly admitted it to shareholders, stating, "I simply paid too much for a business that didn't deserve it." This transparency turned a failure into a valuable teaching moment, not just for him, but for investors around the world. The takeaway: accept your mistakes, own them, and most importantly, learn from them. Mistakes are not dead ends, they are detours to greater understanding. Patience is power. If there's one trait that defines Warren Buffett's approach to life and investing, it's patience. He's famously said, "The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient." He waits for the right opportunities and doesn't give in to short-term noise. Take Coca-Cola as an example. Warren bought shares in the company during a time when others doubted it. He held onto those shares for decades, watching the brand grow globally. His investment in Coca-Cola became one of the most profitable moves of his career. This wasn't luck, it was patience. Patience also applied to his personal life. He didn't rush into relationships or decisions. When his wife Susan passed away, he didn't rush into remarriage. Instead, he took time to grieve, reflect, and eventually found companionship with Astrid Manx, whom Susan had introduced him to. The message is clear: great things take time. Success, love, and personal growth all require patience. The power of compound engine of the core ideas Warren teaches is compounding. Whether it's compounding wealth or compounding knowledge, the idea is simple. Small efforts made consistently over time produce massive results. Warren started investing at the age of 11. By the time he was in his 30s, he was already a millionaire. Not because of one big win, but because of steady, compounded growth. He didn't cash out his investments early. He let them mature over decades. Think of compounding like planting a tree. You don't see much at first, but with time, it becomes something massive and fruitful. The lesson here: start small, be consistent, let time do its magic. Simple rules, big results. Warren Buffett's life runs on a few core rules that are surprisingly simple. Invest in yourself, learn continuously. Your mind is your greatest asset. Do what you love. Work fueled by passion is more rewarding than work driven by money. Live below your means. Save, don't show off. Wealth isn't in what you flaunt, but in what you build. Surround yourself with good people. Your circle influences your success. Choose wisely. Stay consistent, stick to your values and your long-term plan, no matter what distractions arise. These rules aren't just for investors. They're for anyone who wants to live a meaningful, impactful life. Your life, your wealth. So, how can you apply Warren's lessons to your own life? It starts with action. Start early, whether it's investing, learning a new skill, or building a relationship. The earlier you begin, the better. But don't worry if you're starting late. Consistency matters more than timing. Stay curious, read, ask questions, Talk to people who are smarter than you. Never stop learning. Be patient. Don't chase quick wins. Think long term. Admit mistakes, learn from failure, and move on stronger. Give back. Success isn't complete unless it helps others. Share your time, money, or talents. A legacy bigger than wealth. Warren Buffett's legacy is not just about the billions he's earned. It's about the lives he's impacted. Through the Giving Pledge, he's inspired dozens of billionaires to donate the majority of their wealth. He once said, "If you're in the luckiest 1% of humanity, you owe it to the rest of humanity to think about the other 99%. Warren Buffett shows us that greatness isn't about being flashy or aggressive. It's about being consistent, humble, and driven by purpose. It's about making smart decisions, treating people with respect, and never letting success go to your head." He reminds us that real wealth is not just about how much you make, it's about how much good you do. So, if you've been inspired by Warren Buffett's journey, remember this: your success story can start today. You don't need millions to begin. All you need is the right mindset, a willingness to learn, and the courage to start. If you enjoyed this story and want to keep learning English while discovering powerful lessons from successful people, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. Let's grow together, one word, one story, one mindset at a time. This is Mindset English, where stories shape success.